Head coach Steve Kerr was on 95.7 The Game the other day and basically admitted that the Warriors need to make some big changes heading into the NBA 2024-25 regular season. And by big, I mean physically big. They're finally possibly going to look for a true center for the Warriors' upcoming rosters. That's exactly what we're going to break down here on Warriors Today by Chat Sports. You got Allie Barefoot here. And if anything happens to the Golden State Warriors, I've said this time and time again, I feel like a broken record, but it's true. If you're looking for any free content on the Golden State Warriors, news, rumors, breaking news, any trade that's going to happen, because I have a huge feeling the Warriors are going to make a big trade this offseason, go on ahead and hit that sub button. We're 62,327 deep in here. Our goal is 62,500. Hit that sub button. You're not going to regret it. Let's look at the Warriors center depth here. Trayce Jackson-Davis moved up to the number 1 role there for the starting 5 for the Golden State Warriors towards the end of the season. I personally think TJD did a great job. Obviously, he's got some learning to do. He was a rookie, but for a rookie to come into a veteran ball type of system like Steve Kerr has, I thought he held his own. He's also up for NBA Dunk of the Year over Victor Wembanyama. He settled his ground, and I do think TJD could be a very powerful 5 moving forward. Draymond Green, obviously not a true center, but he does play just as well as a lot of centers in the NBA. Kevon Looney, Dario, and Usman Garuba, maybe not the strongest part of the depth chart here, but overall my takeaway from the 5 that the Warriors have at the 5 is TJD really stepped up and showed the Warriors that if he don't end up getting a true big this offseason, he can handle the load, which is going to be great moving forward as he is extremely young at 21 years old. Draymond Green, he's not a true center. While he can play the 5, and he's shown that he can over the past couple of years, I personally loved him at that power forward position with TJD at the 5, showing he has a little bit more strengths when he's able to defend that wing. Looney's production dipped horribly this season, not to mention Dario and Looney don't seem to be probably re-signing with the Golden State Warriors. Looney doesn't have a guaranteed $8 million. Dario's going to be entering free agency, so I'm really intrigued to see if the Warriors will end up trading away Looney or if they are going to give him that guaranteed money. Plus, when you look at the bigs in the West, thankfully Trayce Jackson-Davis is standing at about 6'9". When you look at bigs in the West that are actually competing right now for the NBA playoffs, you got Anthony Davis, 6'10", Nikola Jokic, 6'11". Obviously, he is a dime a dozen. You got Sabonis, who got knocked out of the playoffs, in 6'10". Jonas also 6'11". Trayce Jackson-Davis is still 2 inches smaller than all of these guards. So I do want to break down what it would look like for the Warriors to go out and get a true big that could help them contend for the playoffs one more time. Name a big you want the Warriors to trade for. There are several out there. I know you guys have already commented down below once before because getting a true center has been at the forefront of the Warriors' mind. A lot of Dub Nation fans for a very long time. Let me know what you guys think before I break down 3 trade options the Warriors could explore this offseason. And while I do that, why don't I go on ahead and tell you guys how to win some money? Just go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use that promo code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. And you're probably like, Allie, what am I even trying to sign up for? Well, it's Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app. You guys can win big money by testing out your skills, not just in the NBA. They've also got NHL playoffs going right now. MLB has kicked off their season this month. So if you guys want to test your knowledge, here is a great promotion I want you guys to go ahead and jump in on. I open up my Prize Picks app, as I do every single day when I know there are games being played that day, and I saw that if you pick one entry that's got an NBA player and an MLB player, you can win up to a free entry up to $50 tomorrow. So I'm like, let's go. MLB regular season games. I got Jason Tatum in the playoffs. Give me the more. I took a Goblin. Easier pick. Doesn't pay as much. 19.5 points. He had a triple-double against Miami Heat in Game 1. And then I have Juan Soto having more than 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. These are my 2 picks to help me win a $50 free entry. If you guys want to do that as well, just go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use that promo code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Joe Lacob, Mike Dunleavy, Steve Kerr, they've all hinted at a lot of trades coming up in this offseason. The Warriors are probably going to trade a lot of assets along with their draft picks in order to really rearrange this roster to make it back to the playoffs. So I'm going to bring up one name that I have seen in my comment section time and time again. Let's talk about Lauri Markananen. Not technically a true center when it comes to the roster, but a power forward that he can work in around a 7-foot big man into the paint. When you're breaking down what Lauri did this year for the Utah Jazz, obviously he's one of their top players. In fact, he was the top scorer for the Utah Jazz this season. 23.2 points per game. He played about 55 games this season. 8.2 boards, shot about 48% from the field, and I love that he is a great catch and shoot kind of guy around the perimeter, nearly 40% from downtown. I mean, maybe he can help out with a little Steph Curry splash brother action if Klay Thompson does not come back, but that's obviously not why you're going to go on ahead and trade for him. You're looking at what he can do in the paint. While he's not the biggest body when it comes to the paint, he doesn't get a very physical down low, and his rebounding does have me a little bit skeptical at times. I do think that if the Warriors are looking for size, and they're looking for a true big man to compete with other big bodies in the Western Conference, he's got the height, he's got the attributes, and obviously he did good things for the Utah Jazz, being their leading scorer. Plus, the Utah Jazz do sound willing to pay him, but nothing has happened yet. So I'm thinking maybe if Mike Dunleavy gets on that ball, starts rolling it pretty quickly, that they could try to make something happen before the Utah Jazz decides they want to pay Lauri Markkanen. So with that being said, I created a 3-team trade with the help of my producer Tyler Smitty here, breaking down what would be the best options for the Warriors, for the Jazz, and for the Dallas Mavericks to make this trade happen. Lauri would come to the Warriors. The Jazz would receive Dallas Mavericks Tim Hardaway Jr. and Josh Green. Unfortunately, the Warriors may have to give up some young talent here. You got Moses Moody, Trayce Jackson-Davis, and you're giving away a couple of draft picks as well. You got to think if you're taking their best asset, giving them to the Golden State Warriors, you got to give up some of the Warriors' younger talent. And then the Mavericks would receive Andrew Wiggins. That solves your problem of trying to get Andrew Wiggins a fresh start. You're going to solve a problem of getting a new big to come to the Warriors, but you got to give up some young talent. So my question is, I know a lot of you guys want Lauri Markkanen to come to the Golden State Warriors, but would you guys accept a trade? Because it's going to take a lot to have the Utah Jazz budge on a guy they want to pay, they want to keep there, but they haven't done anything yet for their best player this season. Type A for accept, type D for decline. While you guys are answering that question down below, I want to bring up another possible big the Warriors could trade for. This one from the Toronto Raptors, Jakob Poeltl. I want to break down that he did have a surgery in March, which did keep him out indefinitely. It was just on his finger. I mean, Chris Paul had hand surgery, so these things happen. I do believe he should be ready for the 2024-25 season. But we'll take a look as to why he only played 50 games last year for the Raptors and what he did in those 50 games. 11.1 points per game, about 8.6 boards, right up there with Lauri Markkanen. You got 1.5 blocks per game, 2.5 assists, but he does shoot better overall from the field than Markkanen does. I think he is the type of guy that can definitely put up some points in the paint for you around the rim. When you look at a trade that's going to involve the Raptors and the Golden State Warriors, you are going to get Jakob Poeltl, Chris Boucher, or the Raptors, however, would receive Andrew Wiggins, Moses Moody, and a 2025 first-round pick. Unfortunately, like I said, with these assets, you're going to have to give up some of the younger talent, which does suck because I do feel like Steve Kerr was kind of in that transition of finally starting to play younger guys more than the veterans, but I did include one trade just before this with Trayce Jackson-Davis and Moses Moody. Now Moody's coming up again, and it's unfortunate that Moses Moody might get dealt away just because Jonathan Kuminga is such a great asset to the Warriors, and Moody was called the victim of the rotation. So with that being said, are you guys willing to give up Moses Moody? I wish he would have more time in the Bay Area because I do think he could be a really influential role player for the Golden State Warriors, but if Kerr's not going to play him, I don't think it's fair to keep him on the roster, especially since he obviously has enough talent to go and be a star somewhere else. So are you willing to give up Moses Moody? Comment why or why not down below. Coming in at number 3, a possible trade idea that could lead you to Naz Reid. I love Naz Reid. I love even more that he's 25 years old. You can keep him here for so long, even after the big 3 have come and gone. He is a defensive asset like none other. Taking a look at what he did this year, 80 games. He missed 2 games this season, averaging nearly 14 points a game, 5 boards, not as much as Jakob and Lauri, and then 47.7 field goal percentage, 41% from a three-point line. It's not bad at all for a big man that's currently playing in the NBA playoffs right now for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think this would be a little bit tricky, though. He's about $15 million right now a year, but Naz Reid doesn't seem like a player the Timberwolves would give up for very little resources. So, like I said again, Moody, Kevon Looney, though, 2025 first and 2026 second-round draft picks to possibly get Naz Reid, who is doing great things for the Timberwolves. I even saw a quote recently, Luka Doncic is talking about how he is the real deal. He would be a big you would try to keep in the Warriors uniform for several years. This would be a franchise trade. So this is just what I cooked up in terms of salary, but they may be giving up more because I would want Reid. I want a 25-year-old that can come into the paint. He's going to clean up around the rim. He only allows opponents to score about 23 points in the paint. I think that he would truly make a difference on your roster in the last couple of years if you keep Steph Curry for more than that. So I think he adds into your younger group being 25 years old, which I personally do think is on the younger side of NBA players. And I think on the defensive and big man front, he solves your answers. If you don't want to trade and you don't want to give up some of these players in the trades that I have cooked up for you guys, here are some NBA free agent bigs they could also try and look for. Of course, Jonas with the Pelicans, Andre with the Bulls, Nick Claxton, who I still admire and want to come to the Golden State Warriors, but I do feel like the Brooklyn Nets would be stupid if they did not offer him an extension. Moritz Wagner, that's a team option they're probably going to take, so that's just something to keep your eye on. If they do end up not taking that, well, Wagner is definitely a guy you'd want to go out and get, but that's probably a far stretch. So Luke Kornet, he's done great things on the bench behind Porzingis, now Horford for the Celtics. I think Kornet could be a really good asset at about 7 feet tall as well. Overall, you got to prepare for the Warriors to give up some assets if you want to get that true big to come into the paint for the Golden State Warriors. And I do think that, unfortunately, they're going to have to give up somebody like a Moses Moody. Hopefully not a Jonathan Kuminga, maybe a Brandon Podziemski. It's going to be a weird offseason, but if the Warriors want to get back to the playoffs, it's going to take a true big. And I think Steve Kerr is finally noticing that. So with that being said, I gave you guys 3 trades that could work for the Warriors. Obviously, I'm not Mike Dunleavy. I'm not even that good at math. So if you guys have a trade idea that you want to put together, go on ahead and make it down below. I'd love to comment with you guys, talk about it, and see what's out there and what's going on in y'all's mind. While you're doing that, go on ahead and hit that sub button for me. If they trade for a big, if they trade anybody, or for anybody, we're going to talk about it here on Warriors Today by Chat Sports. All you guys have to do is subscribe.